Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Japan, but this time we are going to head up to Tokyo, and this is yet another brewery who I've never tried anything from, but I've heard some very good things about these guys. Apparently their beers are really quite interesting, and this of course is another beer that I bought from liquor shop Asahiya here in Osaka in Japan. I do recommend you go there and check it out if you get the chance. Koji, that owns the store, and his daughter Rika, both very nice, very knowledgeable on beer as well. And you know, they really seem to be enjoying this kind of Japanese craft beer boom that's going on. So this was one that he recommended that I have a go at, and I think it is actually the first in its kind of sub-style that I've had from Japan. So for this one we are going to go to Far Yeast Brewing, who are from Tokyo, and we're having a taste of one of the beers out of their Kagua range. So this one is the Kagua IPA, coming in at 7% ABV, and this one is a Belgian style IPA brewed with some yuzu. It's actually a limited edition beer, this one, although I think they've released beers as limited editions under this label already and then actually made them kind of regulars in the range. So I think this one, if it goes down well, I'm sure you might see this one at some point in the future, but as of 2018, when I'm filming this review, the very end of 2018, this one is a limited edition beer. So really looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. I should mention as well, this one is a gypsy brewery actually, so if you like your different gypsy breweries, Far Yeast Brewing Company are one of the Japanese ones that are kind of popping up over here. There's a lot of different craft brews have popped up in the last 2 years when it comes to Japanese craft beer. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Far Yeast Brewing. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Japanese beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Far Yeast Brewing Company then, so on to my brewery notes. So Far Yeast Brewing were founded back in 2011 as Nippon Craft Beer Incorporated, but they later changed their name to Far Yeast Brewing Company in late 2014. But the company is based mainly in Tokyo, and the founder of the company is Shiro Yamada, who has a background in business, having worked in the finance sector and also as a consultant for various different companies. But they launched their Kagua brand of beer in 2012, and these are the Belgian style beers, and then they launched the Far Yeast brand of beers in 2014. Before deciding to use that as the main name of the company. I think the Far Yeast beers themselves tend to be the more American style craft beers, but these guys are a gypsy brewery and they brew their beers both at other breweries in Japan and other breweries outside of Japan. This one is actually brewed at De Graaf Brewery in Belgium as well, where they seem to brew most of these different Belgian style beers. So these ones essentially are actually Belgian brewed beers, where the recipes are designed in Japan and then the beers are imported back here. But these guys do have a little they have a little tap room, of course. It's called Far Yeast Brewing Tap Room and Bao. They sell these little bao buns, which are the kind of they're these little Chinese things that are meant to be quite nice. So you can go and try some of these beers on tap, and you can also have these little Chinese buns to eat along with them, which is supposed to be very nice. Pardon me. Just, I don't know why I seem to get this in some of these videos that I'm filming over here. I think it's dry air in Japan actually that's doing that. But yeah, they've got their own little tap room where they've got 10 or so different beers on tap, and you can try these little Chinese buns with them. In the Kagua range, from what I understand, there's around 4 different beers. There's the red one, the yellow one and the white one, and I think there's another one in there as well, maybe a blue one. But this one, as I say, is a very recent addition to the range, and it's supposed to be very good. But as you've seen before on the channel, I really love the Japanese yuzu. It's this little citrusy fruit that's unique to Japan, of course, and when I saw that this one was an IPA, a Belgian style IPA brewed with yuzu, I just had to go for it, you know. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Far Yeast Brewing Company just now. There wasn't too much information available on these guys, but that was all that I could find looking through various things like Beer Tengoku, Japan Beer Times, and actually looking at their own website themselves. So yeah, so if you want to learn a little bit more, do check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and keep up to date with all the latest goings on. They are quite prolific. They're releasing lots of different beers under the Kagua range and also the Far Yeast range as well. They seem to be doing various different things there. I think it tends to be the case that the Far Yeast beers are the ones that are brewed in Japan, whereas the Kagua ones are the ones that are brewed in Belgium and then imported here. But yeah, interesting company this one, and it's cool to see that Japan is kind of picking up a little bit of a gypsy brewing culture. I think the Mikkeller Bar are doing a lot of different brews with different breweries around Japan as well, from what I understand. But yeah, should be a really interesting beer, this one. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, this one is a 7% IPA, and it's a Belgian style IPA brewed with yuzu and different hops, a limited edition one. So yeah, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this. There you can see the Kagua symbol with the different kanjis on it there. You can see that's also on the little top label. It tells you a little bit about the brewery and the beer itself and things on this little back label that it has here. Michiko told me it just tells you the fact that this one is, you know, it's a Belgian style IPA brewed in Belgium with yuzu fruit added to it, and it also tells you that on the little back label. It's just a plain bottle cap on this one, incidentally. But yeah, nicely presented beer this. So I guess without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Very curious to see how this one turns out. Nice little bit of smoke on the opening then. And I think some of the bubbles are just trying to escape, so we'll get it out and into the glass. You always have to be careful with these Belgian brewed beers. The Belgian ones do tend to get a slightly bigger head on them than the American craft beers, but I think this one is just going to pour very nicely, exactly as we want it. So there you go. Lovely looking beer, this one. Yeah, so as you can see with this is actually poured quite a dark, it's quite a dark, murky orange colour, this one. Yeah, I think it's definitely a very, very dark, murky kind of amber colour. There's a solid finger and a half of a frothy, I would say kind of creamy beige head on this one. It is more of a creamy colour, but it does have a little element of beige to it. There's one or two little bits of sediment have just come out of this and are kind of settling in the head on this one, actually. But yeah, just see if I can pick that up. Yeah, a little bit of sediment of yeastiness there, that I've just pulled out the head. But yeah, it looks very, very nice, this one. I'm a little bit darker than some of the Belgian IPAs that I've come across before, but you know, this kind of dark, murky orange colour is not out of the realms of possibility, I guess you would say, of an IPA. There are a lot of IPAs that kind of have this sort of colour about them. But yeah, it looks very, very nice, and pretty much what you'd expect. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. Usually the Belgian beers are a little bit more active in terms of their carbonation because of the bottle conditioning and things, and as you can see, there's a little bit of sediment coming out of this one. But yeah, let's get a look at the aroma and see how we get on with this one then. Ooh, now that's interesting. Straight away it's the yuzu that jumps out at you. And the yuzu, I have to say, you know, yuzu is a very, very difficult fruit to describe. It's almost a little bit like, it's almost like a very sharp kind of tangerine or mandarin, something like that, but it's got an element of a lemony sharpness to it. It's even more sharp than that, and maybe even it's got a little bit of a kind of limey quality to it as well. It's almost just like a lemon, a lime and a tangerine just kind of squashed together in terms of its aroma, but it is a very, very sharp fruit in terms of its aroma and its flavour, to be honest with you. They do use it for cooking and certain things over here, although I don't think I've actually tried all that many different things over here that have used yuzu as part of the fruit. I need to ask Michiko about that and see if we can try a few different things, because I really do like the flavour of yuzu. But yeah, with this one then, yuzu jumps out at you straight away. There's a good little bit of a floral aromaticity to this one as well. You've definitely got a bit of that kind of grassy and floral edge to the beer. It's got a nice sort of freshness to it. There's a little touch of earthiness in there as well, which is very, very nice. And underneath that, you can definitely pick up some of these nice big bready, doughy, yeasty qualities to the beer as well. Of course, the Belgian beers are very, very kind of yeast focused, and that's that's a lot of the thing, as I said, that gives the beer the carbonation. So for me, this one actually has quite a nice sort of bready, wheaty quality to it. There's a little bit of a biscuity sweetness in there. It's almost a little bit buttery as well. It definitely has a little bit of that kind of sweeter edge to it. But yeah, it smells very, very nice actually. I like how everything is going together in this one. Yeah. To me, this one, it's a very fresh smelling Belgian IPA. It's not quite as kind of prominent, that the yeasty aromas, the bready yeasty aromas, are not quite as forthright in this one as they can sometimes be within this sort of sub-style. But to me, it smells like a really nice, quite fresh Belgian style IPA. It's not, if I was blind smelling this, I would maybe pick up that it had I'd say it probably had a little element of a Belgian yeasty quality, but I wouldn't be able to pick up straight away that it's a Belgian IPA. It's got a nice freshness to it, and some of the yuzu qualities are in there. But the yeastiness, I think, is a little bit kind of subdued, maybe by just how sharp and how kind of forthright the yuzu is on this one. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But let's have a taste of this one then. So this one is the Kagua IPA, a Belgian style IPA brewed with yuzu at 7% ABV from Far Yeast Brewing Company based in Minato in Tokyo here in Japan. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, kanpai. Yeah, it's quite interesting that. It's a good bit, I mean, the flavour of this one is a little bit darker than I was expecting. I'd be very curious to try the other beers that they have, because with this one, there is a little bit of yeastiness. There is maybe, I wonder if the sediment in this is affecting the flavour a little bit, because the flavour is just a little bit kind of darker than I was expecting. But this is a good beer, I'll say straight away. This is quite a nice one. It's the Belgian beers I've always found, they're very, very nice, but you can only usually drink one or two of them because they are usually quite heavy in terms of alcohol. 7% though isn't one of the bigger ones that you're going to find from Belgium. You know, most of the blonde beers and the brewing beers tend to be around the 6.5, 7% ABV, and this one is just really, really it's really quite nice and quite drinkable. That's the first thing I'd say about this, and this is one of the things that I always say about these Japanese beers. Regardless of what style it is, they always seem to maintain an element of that drinkability, and you can definitely pick up that in this beer. But yeah, that's quite nice actually. I think it takes one or two sips of this beer to really kind of appreciate exactly what's going on. It's actually, it has a bit of that doughy, bready, yeasty thing that you would expect to the Belgian beers, but on top of that, it actually becomes a little bit sweeter the further that you go into it, and then in the aftertaste, there's a little bit of an almost kind of grainy quality coming out of this one too, which is kind of interesting and unusual, but at the same time it maintains that slightly lighter mouthfeel that you would expect of the Japanese craft beer. So I'm going to say thumbs up to Far Yeast Brewing Company. This one, I do like this, and it's quite interesting when you try these different craft beers from different countries, how you've got all these different interpretations of different styles. But yeah, this is pretty solid, and it's cool to see that a Japanese brewery is actually taking on these Belgian styles of beer and having a brew at them themselves. But as I say, you know, this one is a gypsy brewed beer. They are brewing these beers in Belgium and then sending them back across. But from what I understand, the recipe was designed over here. It's probably been brewed on a small pilot kit here, and they're basically sending that over to Belgium to have it produced on a bigger scale, right enough. That's probably what's going on, knowing how Japan works. But yeah, so As I say, with the malt base on this one, you can feel that nice bready, doughy, yeasty quality just blanket in the middle of your palate. The further into the mouthfeel that you start to go, you can feel a little bit of a grainy dryness just pushing its way out of this one in the centre of the palate. It does become a little bit more grainy and dry the further into the flavour you go, but in the centre of your palate there's definitely a little bit of a slightly caramelly and biscuity sweetness to this one. In the very centre of my tongue it is becoming a little bit sweeter, I would say, and I like how that all goes together. Back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. When you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, that just smooths out a little bit. It's almost a little bit herbal as well. And then when you get towards the front corners of the palate, you can feel just a little bit of that slightly more spicy floral aromaticity to it. And when you go round the front curve of the tongue, there's a little bit of that kind of slightly more fresh grassiness. But the yuzu that they've added to the beer, you can pick that out on the edge of your palate too. Whenever you add fruit to a beer, it almost suppresses a little bit of the IBUs and it comes out just around the edge of your palate. And this beer definitely has that as part of its kind of part of its flavour profile. You can really feel that kind of bite, I guess you would say, that the yuzu has. You can feel that sort of big tart. It's not tart actually. That big kind of almost dryness, I guess you would say, the yuzu does. It comes in and it's very, very sweet and very sharp, and you can really feel that around the edge of your palate with this beer. And yeah, you can feel that when you go behind the front curve of the palate, of course. You can feel that there's that little oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. For me, this one, I'd wonder if there's a bit of Centennial or something like that in here. It is the way that the hops are coming out of this one makes me think a little bit Centennial, because it does have a little bit of that lemony quality to it. It could be Soriachi Ace right enough, because it doesn't taste quite the same as you would expect from Centennial. It would be cool actually if they're sending some Japanese Soriachi Ace over here. I would suspect that, considering it's meant to be a Japanese take on the Belgian IPA, there could well be Soriachi Ace in this, and the way that the citrus comes out is actually quite distinctive, I would say. Yeah, I think I would be surprised if there's not a little bit of Soriachi Ace in here, because that citrusy quality that this beer has and the fruity side is really complementing the yuzu flavours very, very well. And there's very few hops that can do that other than Soriachi Ace. And I think, you know, it was a hop, you know, that was why they started using yuzu in a lot of these different beers. But Soriachi Ace, from what I understand, there is a variety of it that's produced, I think, in Australia, and also one that's produced over in on the west coast of the US as well. So I don't know how much is actually still produced in Japan, but I know there's a few breweries such as Uchu and Shiga Kogen who are experimenting with different hop varieties here, and that's something I think that's very exciting for the future of Japanese craft beer. But yeah, this one for me, in terms of being a Belgian IPA, the malt base in this one, the Belgian side of the beer, Belgian beer, as I said, is very yeast focused. This one, it has a nice little bit of that Belgian yeasty quality you'd expect, but it's a bit sweeter, I think, and it's a bit lighter in the mouthfeel than you would get normally from a Belgian brewed ale, I think. But it works very, very well, and it's a very, on the hoppy side of things, it's very nice and very fresh, I think, and that is what really works well for this beer, I would say. It really is just a very, very interesting one, this. So thumbs up to Far Yeast Brewing for this one. They've made a product, I think, that is quite creative, but I'd like to try a few of the other beers in this in the Kagua range, but I'm not sure that I'll have time to do it this time that I'm in Japan, so maybe that's something for the future. And I guess I should try something from the regular Far Yeast range as well. But yeah, an interesting beer, this one, and I'm glad that I've been able to try it. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would say it's a mid-bodied beer. The carbonation on this one does have a little bit of that prickle that you would expect of the Belgian beers, you know, with these yeast strains that they use, and it retains that kind of Japanese drinkability that I was talking about. It's got a good balance as well between wetness and oiliness, I would say. It leans a little bit towards that oily side of things, but At the same time, it has enough wetness to give it that kind of freshness and drinkability that you would expect of a Japanese craft beer. Good little bit of bitterness from the hoppiness. I would guess it's maybe around the sort of 40 IBU mark. This one could be pushing 50. There is a little bit of bitterness from the grainy side, the malt base on this one too. But there's a nice sort of juicy, fruity side of things to this one as well, and it is quite sharp and has a little bit of dryness to it as well, which helps bring out some of these yuzu flavours. But you know, overall, very, very nice beer, this one, and I'm glad that I was able to review this for you. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on this one, and I do wonder if this will become a regular member of the Far Yeast Kagua range. We'll need to see as we go forward. But yeah, a really interesting Belgian IPA with yuzu added to it as well. So make sure you have a go at this one if you get the chance. But until the next time, thank you for watching my reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Far Yeast Brewing and the Kagua range as well. And as always, I'll catch you soon with more beer reviews. I've been reviewing some really interesting stuff here in Japan this time, so I hope you have enjoyed this one, and I hope I can review more yuzu beers for you at some point in the future. If you do get the chance to try some yuzu IPAs or anything with yuzu in it, I highly recommend that you do something that's very, very Japanese but also very, very good. So until the next time, slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, skål, kanpai.